Hello, everybody, and welcome to the second episode of the Capricorn Cave, where I just vibe out with you guys and read celebrities or other people's birth charts. And I thought today I would read Jim Carrey's birth chart because not only do I fucking love him, but he also has the same exact birthday as me. I wasn't born in 1962, but you get the drift. And wow. Oh boy. So Jim Carrey was a Capricorn. He had a Gemini moon and he was a Scorpio rising. Let me just talk about some of the things that stand out the most to me first. Look at that conjunction with his Scorpio ascendant with Neptune. Neptune being conjunct an ascendant is awesome for an actor because you are able to get in touch with other realms. Look at Neptune. Neptune kind of looks like an antenna, and you can tune in and kind of morph to a character that you want to play.
That's correct, Wendy. We all wear masks, metaphorically speaking.
And that's just talking about his acting, but in a general sense, you have to watch this because this aspect could quickly turn from spiritual enlightenment into mental illness. I've known somebody, and multiple people, case studies that have had Neptune close to their ascendant in Scorpio suffer from schizophrenia because Scorpio is a water sign and it can get in touch with the other realms just like Neptune can, and it could be dark because Scorpio is kind of like a darker sign. It's heavy. It's heavier. And so, but, luckily for him, he really is a spiritually awakened human being. He's very spiritual. And so let's talk about his sun being in Capricorn. And it is sandwiched between Venus and, I'm having a brain fart, Saturn. And, if you watched my Capricorn Cave episode when I talked about Terrence McKenna's birth chart, he also has his sun conjunct his Venus. And that just makes for a beautiful individual. People love people that have sun conjunct Venus because Venus is the planet of love. Venus is the planet of beauty. And when you have your sun, which is you, conjunct that just, it makes you a beautiful individual and people will gravitate towards you. But let's look at the conjunction between his sun and Saturn, which I also have, which is actually pretty crazy because we were born years apart on the same exact day, and he also has his sun conjunct Saturn, which isn't, it's rare. So that means that he is a very strict individual. He may have had a lot of insecurities as well because Saturn in astrology is known as a malefic planet. So it can put a lot of hardships on you. It makes you question everything you do. It makes you think you're not good enough because Saturn wants you to progress. Saturn wants you to be tough. Saturn wants to develop a thick skin. And he does so in ways that aren't so easy. He may have had a lot of struggles in his life, especially earlier on in his life. Because with all Capricorns, their earlier life is hard. But as they grow older, because Saturn rules time and Saturn is the ruler of Capricorn, as you grow older, situations tend to get easier for Capricorns if you put in the work, because Saturn rewards hard work. And if you're a lazy Capricorn, you are going to have a hard life, my friend. But Jim Carrey really looks like he, overcame that. And, Saturn isn't in Capricorn. It's 1 degree of Aquarius, but it's still very close. And Saturn is still the traditional ruler of Aquarius. So that energy is very strong within him. Now, in all of this energy, he has a stellium in the 3rd house. He has his Venus, Sun, Saturn, Jupiter, Mercury, and South Node in the third house. And in a basic sense, the third house rules communication. So, he really did communicate to people. And what I want to focus on up here is his midheaven is in Leo, and he has his Uranus conjunct it. Almost exactly. And Uranus is the planet of rebellion and doing things different. And Leo is a sign of wanting to be in the spotlight. Leo is ruled by the sun. And, he really he was different in his career. Like, I can't think of anybody else that is like Jim Carrey. He is original. He's original, and he's a beautiful human being. And it's also, I love that he has a Gemini moon. Gemini moons, dude! Don't even get me started on Gemini moons. I fucking love them. One of my good friends, the spiritual gardener, is a Gemini moon. And that you just love a good conversation. You love to talk. You love to chit chat. And Geminis is a very fun sign. It's fun. And Gemini is also known as the twins. So he may have had two different personalities, which he really did because, he had his Jim Carrey, his stage presence, who he was as an actor, and then, he had who he really is on a soul level. And it's kind of tough to have the moon in the 8th house because the moon is your emotional awareness, right? Your emotional well-being, how you feel on the inside. And the 8th house is a dark house. The 8th house is about death and rebirth, undercovering things, kind of like detective work, but it can be tough. Death and rebirth situations are not easy. It's kind of like the dark night of the soul. It's like doing shadow work, and if you know anything about shadow work, that shit ain't fun. Take it from me. I'm going through it right now. But luckily, it's making some nice aspects. It's making a trine to his Jupiter and Mercury. And, we love to see a good aspect to Mercury, especially when he's having a career as an actor. His Mercury is making a square to the Neptune, but that squares are not necessarily bad. Squares are obstacles that you need to overcome. And once you can overcome those obstacles, then you literally are so much stronger than people that only have trines. Trines could make people lazy. If you see a chart and you don't see any red lines and you only see blue lines, you may think that is a better chart or an easier chart to deal with. And yeah, it might be, but it makes for a lazy person because they have no obstacles. And Capricorns need obstacles. Capricorns want to, fight through problems that life throws at them because then they feel stronger. They feel like they have a sense of purpose. They're working towards something. And when you have a lot of obstacles, squares, oppositions, it makes a person stronger, and he's very strong. And even though it's a square, when you have Neptune connected to your Mercury in the 3rd house of communication, that just makes for an even better actor, in my opinion. Now let's talk a little bit about more spirituality based. Let's look at his Chiron. Now, Chiron is very important to look at in someone's chart. Chiron is known as the wounded healer. And it's kind of like the human experience. Chiron is an asteroid. It's not a planet, but it's very powerful. It like I said before, it kind of marks the human experience, what his soul is kind of working towards this life. And when you have Chiron, the wounded healer in Pisces, he is going through a spiritual awakening in this life because Pisces is the last sign, and it deals very much so with spirituality and other realms. And Jim Carrey is one of the most spiritual actors that I almost said met. I never met him. I wish I did. But and he's not fake either. Like, you see these fake woke people like, oh yeah, I pray to Jesus, to baby Jesus. I'm a Muslim. I do this, I do that. I travel to Africa and feed little freaking homeless kids. I don't know. But all I'm trying to say is Jim Carrey's spiritualness, if that's a word, is real. Is real because that is his soul. And look at Chiron. It kind of looks like a key. And like it's the key to making it through this life. But you also got to look at it as karma too. K for karma. Because it's his karma to work through this life becoming spiritually awakened. And, you know, just like the North and South Node, you need to pay attention to that in this life. And it's in the 4th house of family and roots. And yes, Chiron is a good thing because you get healed after. But remember, I said wounded healer. The 4th house is his wound, his family and roots. He was wounded earlier on in his life, and he needed to learn how another obstacle, work past it, work through it in order to get the healing properties of Chiron. And he did that very well. And it's opposing his Pluto and his Uranus in the 10th house of career. So he had to really go against his family to make it in his career. Pluto and Uranus in the 10th house of career, that is death and rebirth, doing original things in your career. But because it's making opposition to the 4th house, he had to neglect his social norms in the family. And he did that, I believe. I mean, I don't know too much about Jim Carrey, but I think I remember hearing one time that he was homeless. His father, I think, was like a dentist or something. I don't know. And his family maybe wanted Jim Carrey to be a dentist, but he just wanted to be a Leo, be the sun, and like, you know, make people happy. And with that Neptune conjunct his ascendant, he wanted to be somebody else. He didn't really know who he was. Jim Carrey didn't know who he was. And he was trying to find that. And I feel like he tried to find it through his career, through success, because Capricorns want to be successful. That's the number one goal for Capricorns. I want to be famous. I want to be rich. And, you know, famous, not always fame, but they definitely want to make it and they want to be rich. Whatever career they choose, they want to be the best. They want to be, you know, the top dog. But that's not his sole purpose in this life. His sole purpose was to find himself spiritually. And I think he just thought he was going to find himself spiritually through his career, through his success. And maybe he did. You know, I feel like he definitely did. He went through a lot of hardships. You know, Moon in the 8th, death and rebirth. He went through transformative, hard life situations that made him change. Because I think he also had a girlfriend that committed suicide. The 8th house rules death. But from that death, a new person is reborn. And that happened. Damn, I don't mean to laugh. I'm not laughing, but yeah, that definitely happened. Let's see what else I can talk about in his chart. So he has his Mars in the 2nd house, which is cool. That's fun. The 2nd house rules your money and possessions, what you value, and Mars is like the warrior, what you fight for. Mars is the warrior for the sun. So because it's in the same sign as Capricorn as his sun, and the Mars is in the 2nd house, he really fought for money. Like that is was at least one of his driving factors for success. He wanted to make money, and he worked his ass off to do it because, Capricorn is, I think, the number one sign that could be money hungry, even greedy. And, I think he definitely was like that in the beginning. All actors and actresses really are like that, but Jim Carrey is so much more than that. Jim Carrey is so much more than that. He's a powerful human being. He's so powerful. And I love him. This is just the first impression of Jim Carrey's chart. Trying to see if I want to say anything else, if anything really stands out to me. Oh, okay, let's talk about his north and south node. So the north and south node in astrology is what you're supposed to aim for in this life as well. So the north node is what you aim for, which is this, and the south node, which is always directly opposing it, is what you're supposed to not really focus on in this life. But you still have to maintain balance. But don't make this the main focus. You always want to follow the north node. Just like, you follow the North Star. Always follow the north node. And then, wow. Jim Carrey's north node is in the 9th house of philosophy. Belief systems. But philosophy. And he wanted to understand, what are we doing here? What is it to be alive? He also got that energy from, his 8th house energy and his Scorpio Neptune energy. But he wanted to figure it out. What's the reason for being alive? And he really started to follow his north node. Now, earlier in life, you fall into a trap of the south node. Because the south node energy is easy for you. Because you already accomplished what the south node wanted you to accomplish in a past life. So just like with anything, if you are good at it, you fall back on it. Because it's not easy to follow your north node because that's new energy this life. And it's amazing that his south node is in the 3rd house of communication, where earlier in his life, that was a big focus in his life. He wanted to communicate, he wanted to act, and, he wanted to be noticed from people. But he ended up, getting what he wanted out of the 3rd house, getting what he wanted out of the 2nd house, getting what he wanted out of his midheaven, and then he went to the north node to just figure out why. Why am I doing this? Like I said, why are we alive? And in my opinion, he really did a great job figuring that out. And I hold Jim Carrey close to my heart as a public figure because he's a good influence. More than a lot of other celebrities out there, in my opinion. So yeah, that was I just want to do these because, like I said in my previous episode, I'm an astrologer. I look at birth charts all the fucking time. And, this is just a first impression of the chart. I could literally talk about Jim Carrey's chart for hours. For hours. You can talk about a chart for hours because there's so much that goes into it. But this is just my first impression, and I don't want to bore anybody with an hour-long Jim Carrey birth chart reading. But so if anybody ever wants to get their birth chart read from me, you could email me at support@cosmicdrugz.com because I'm an astrologer and I offer that. It's my job. And let me know if you'd like me to read your birth chart. I'm running a special right now until my website is up and running. So yeah, just reach out to me. I'll leave my email and stuff in the description. And yeah, I appreciate everybody for watching. I hope you all have a great Scorpio season. The sun just entered into Scorpio. Woohoo! Scorpio rising, intense motherfucker. Intense. This Scorpio season is about to get in fucking tense. So, may the odds ever be in your favor.
I believe that I had to become a famous idea and get all the stuff that people dream about and accomplish a bunch of things
you know what
that
this means, don't you?
That look like success in order to give up my attachment to those things. It's been a part of the evolution of ego is to spend your first half of your life acquiring and adding, thinking you can add to yourself, and it looks great. I mean, it looks great when you got a cool car and you got good, nice clothes, and and you've done something that people admire, but it can never fulfill you. You can never be happy. You know what I mean? It's not where happiness comes from.